Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. It's Wednesday, November 23rd. Before I get to Big Al McMorty, who's with us every Wednesday, we're lucky to have him. Like to wish each and every one of you out there a very happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the holiday with family, eat hearty, and stay safe, folks. Al, how are you?
Doing well. It's my favorite time of year. I love Thanksgiving week. I love being, able to handicap college basketball. I love having turkey with the family. It's by far the best time of the season.
Absolutely. And how is your college basketball, NBA, NFL, college football doing of late?
It's doing great. I did something crazy, Ross. I've been in this business 32 years and I had never even done this before. But this past Saturday, I actually gave out 28 plays.
Okay.
I think my all-time highest, maybe in the previous 30 some years, was maybe I had 21 on a day, if memory serves me correctly. But I had 28 plays. I had 16 in college football. I had 8 in college basketball. I had 3 in the NBA, 1 in hockey.
Yeah, well,
And
I could understand it,
it
because
was just such an amazing, win or lose. I just thought it was a strong card.
yeah.
And so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, if anybody knows anything about you, when you give out a volume of plays, it's not because you're trying to build up your units. It's because you actually like those games and you have some good, sound technical handicapping betting angles that you could be that's applicable to those picks that you've made.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just the way it is. I mean, it's and we were fortunate. We went 16 and 11 with a push. So currently I'm on a 34 and 16 run going back to Friday. But I've already looked ahead to, for example, tomorrow on Thursday, I've got 1 NFL play. On Sunday, I have 2 NFL plays. I haven't done the college work yet, but it's not like I don't give out the games just to give out the games.
No, that was my point. That was my point, because I'm the same way. When I get into 7 games on a college football Saturday, it's sort of unusual because I'm sort of around 5, sometimes 4. But if I give out 7, it's because I like 7 games. It's not because I had a losing week the week before, or because Al's ahead of me by 2 units and there's only 2 weeks to play and I'm trying to catch up. That's not the way we operate. In any event,
and actually, since I'm having a winning year, it's actually the reverse. You would, you're a little nervous. Oh my God, I could go from a winning year to a losing year in one fell swoop. So
no doubt about it. No doubt about it. But you can't, the old saying is you can't bet scared. Okay.
Right.
And you can't handicap scared either.
The other interesting thing was not one customer said anything. No one complained. Usually you would get a lot of flack. I would have thought for something like that, someone would have called up and says, I can't bet all 28 games. My bankroll is only X thousand of dollars, offshore, whatever the issue would be. Not one person called and said, hey, this is too many games.
Well, when you're winning, that usually gives the customers a little more tolerance level.
Yeah, that's true.
The things I love is when you give out 9 or 10 games in a day in multiple sports and they call you up after the fact and says, I know you want 7 and 3, but I lost money. I couldn't afford to bet everyone straight and I bet parlays. I have little tolerance for that. Okay. Because money management and discipline is paramount. I would rather see you cut back on your straight bets than to start the 2 and 3 team parlays, because you don't have the bankroll to bet what you ordinarily do per game. So in any event, it's all part of smart handicapping, smart sports betting. And we could sit here till we're blue in the face and people will still on occasion still screw it up some way, shape or form. Anyway, Al, we got a couple of NFL free picks on Sunday's card. First time we've done NFL on your segment, and I'm looking forward to that. So you got a real good game here to look at. The Cincinnati Bengals, who have all of a sudden started to look like the team that made a run to the Super Bowl last year. They're going to be traveling to Tennessee. I'm still not convinced about this Tennessee team, Al, but it's not what I have to say. It's important what you have to say in this.
Well, Tennessee comes into this game off back-to-back straight up and against the spread wins over Denver and Green Bay. From a technical standpoint, home underdogs or pick 'em, those teams are 121 and 90 against the spread going back to 1980 in non-division games if they are off back-to-back wins, something as simple as that. And what really interests me about this game is this is a a rematch of last season's playoffs. And if you recall in that game, Tennessee was the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati, went in there and upset them. And then, of course, Cincinnati goes all the way to the Super Bowl before they lost. So the Titans, this is a major revenge game for Tennessee. And home teams are 18-11 with 2 pushes ATS when playing with revenge from an upset playoff loss. If they were off a win in their previous game of, this season, which of course Tennessee is. So for those reasons, I'm going to take Tennessee here. I do respect the fact that Cincinnati's finally getting healthy and they're playing better. And, I don't think there's any doubt Cincinnati's the better team. And on most days, I think Cincinnati would win the game. But in this situation, with the playoff revenge, I'm taking Tennessee.
Makes sense to me. So Al is going with Tennessee as a home underdog of +2 over the Cincinnati Bengals. Al, I wanted to ask you this before. Do you ever look at the betting trends? But when I say betting trends, what the public is doing on a particular game, like the volume of bets that are made, what percentage are they, and then what the money is. In other words, there are times where 24% of the volume of bets account for 77% of the money bet. And in any event, you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. No, never. Yeah. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, from my perspective,
yes,
the public hits 50%.
Yep.
And so if you're worried about what the public is doing, I don't give a shit what someone's doing if they're hitting 50%, because if I go against them, I hit 50% and lose the juice. If I go with them, I hit 50% and lose the juice. So I could not care less what the public is doing. As far as other sharps, what they're doing, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I'm putting out my games, like my college basketball games, before they're even betting on. Like my games go out in the morning. I'm done.
Yeah.
So if you're saying, like, do I care what's going on at 6 p.m.? No, because I've already given out my
game. I mean, it's too late to do anything then, and then try to make a living in this business by releasing picks at 6 o'clock when games go at 8. I mean,
well, and the other thing is, like, I'm a sharp, okay, and I've always had, and I have, like, other sharps know what I know as well. Yeah. So why do I want to get behind them? I'm getting in front of them. I'm getting my games out before 8 a.m. Eastern time, so I get the good number. And then the other sharps can follow what I do, and they can, if they're betting on the games, if they're seeing what I'm seeing, the games can move after the fact. I get good, closing line value about 76% of the time. So I'm not waiting. Like, I'm getting the stuff out. I'm getting it out there in front of it.
Very interesting. And it's a good point, because at the end of the day, we talk about sharp money all the time, but we've been doing this for a long time. Both of us, you longer than me. And you know what, folks, our money is sharp. Okay. And the term wise guy is used very loosely these days. Okay. There's a big difference between a wise guy that's a mobster and a wise guy that's a sports bettor. I don't know any wiser guy than Al that's been around forever and a day. I like to use that phrase, Al, because again, it makes me feel young. And the other point is that, with our database, folks, we're not, I think people, and I've had to explain this time and time again, and I'm sure you've come across it so many times in your career, where a customer, client, or individual questions you on the betting angles you come up with and thinks they're betting trends. There's a distinct difference, folks, between betting trends that deals with a specific team and the angles that Al will tell you about, or I will tell you about, that apply to every team in the NFL or college football in a specific situation. And I think people can't grasp onto that. And that's okay. That's what we're here for. Because if they all grasped onto it, they wouldn't be paying us. Anyway, let me get to my pick here, because I know you got another podcast to do. Atlanta at Washington, 1 o'clock on Sunday. Washington opened as a 3-point favorite. They're up to 4.5. And, Al, I went back and forth with this. I told you off air, I could not find a good technical system to use on this game. So I am going to use fundamental handicapping, and I brilliantly assigned myself this game on Sunday night on the blind. So if you ask, well, why don't you have a technical system? Because I hadn't looked at any games for a technical system at that juncture in time. Anyway, Since 2020, under Ron Rivera, Washington is 9-1 straight up in ATS in games 10 through 13. That's very important to me when you're talking about a betting trend. I don't like trends that go back to 2000, 1997. But when you're going back just 3 seasons, and like in this particular instance, and it's under the same head coach, teams take on the personality of their head coach for whatever reason with Ron Rivera. And I didn't check his history with Carolina, but weeks 10 through 13 were starting to turn into the second half and down to the home stretch. He succeeded greatly with Washington in this situation. And as a matter of fact, if Washington was a underdog or favorite of 5.5 or less during games 10 through 13 since 2020, they improved to 8-0 straight up in ATS in those situations. Washington also has won 5 of their last 6. Their only loss in that stretch came to an 8-2 Minnesota team, and that was by 3 in a game that they blew a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter. And during that stretch, they're a +6 turnover differential. Atlanta, on the other hand, they're coming off a 27-24 home win versus Chicago. They needed a field goal in the last 2 minutes of that game to come away with a win. However, this is a Falcons team 0-3 straight up in their last 3 following a win, losing by 9 points per game. Also 0-3 straight up in their last 3 away games, losing by 11.3 points per game. And very interesting was the fact that Washington's 6-5 this year. And I was surprised to look when I checked them out as a favorite. They only been a favorite 3 times this season. On each occasion, they covered 3-0 straight up in ATS as a favorite this year. And if you go back to last year, 5-0 straight up in their last 5 as a favorite, winning by an average of 8.6 points per game. So my fundamentals, and I'm not going to bore you with the rest of the details like rushing yards and defensive rushing yards. I like Washington here, -4.5 against Atlanta. Any thoughts, Al?
I don't like the game whatsoever. Like you, I didn't have any great, systems on the game or anything. When I did all my work last night in the NFL, that was, there was nothing there.
Yeah, well, in a way, I don't mind because too many times over the last 3 years when hosting this show, I come up with a great angle early in the week, and then I'm pissed off at myself by Friday because that should have been a premium paid selection. So how I've adjusted, you know what, folks? Sometimes when I give out these early week picks, I may use them as a premium paid selection on Saturday or Sunday, for example. So keep that in mind. We're going to start doing this on next week's show. We're both going to give out betting angles on games we don't use, but for something the viewers may want to write down and may want to keep in their memory bank. Or, like I like to say, Al, we try to make the viewers of the show a smarter sports bettor today than they were yesterday. Doesn't always work, but some people who are attentive, they have complimented us in that regard. Not only me and you, but the rest of the guys on this channel. El, you have anything maybe this week you could share with the audience that's not going to jeopardize yourself in terms of revenue?
Sure. Yeah. Here's a pretty simple thing in the NFL. When you get teams that have bad defenses, or just say, mediocre to bad defenses, so they give up 24 points or more a game. If those teams are favored by 9 or more points, they suck. And so you go, for example, the Miami Dolphins are giving up 24.1 points per game on the season, and they're favored by 13. So, of course, they fit both criteria. They're favored by 9 or more. They give up 24 or more. Going back to 1980, those big favorites with mediocre to bad defenses are 65 and 109 ATS.
Yeah. And there you go. I mean, 65 and 109 ATS, and that might not be overly impressive to some of you out there. It is to me, and it is to a lot of people. But just keep in mind, there's tightening factors we use as well.
So I'll give you a tightener, Ross.
There you go.
Now that you asked.
Right.
Okay. So if the obvious question would be, okay, they give up 24 points a game. What if they're scoring 30 points per game, right? So if you then filter out the teams that have a scoring margin of 2 points or better, You then take it from 109 and 65 to 82 and 37. And that would also fit the Dolphins because the Dolphins don't have a 2.0 scoring margin. The Dolphins scoring margin is just 1.1. They're giving up 24.1. They're scoring 25.2.
Yeah.
So, again, mediocre team, at least based on the points per game, laying a lot of points, and their defense isn't anything to, write home about.
See, and to me, that differentiates a pretender from a contender to me. When you got a 7-3 team like Miami and their minus point per game differential, to me,
no, they're plus.
Oh,
they're plus. They're just not. They're just not 2 points or better. They're plus 1.1.
Well, even more. Okay.
Well, which should cause people's alarm bells to go off as far as this team win the Super Bowl is.
Yes,
they're giving up 24.1 points per game.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Giants. The Giants are 7-3. They're plus 0.1 points per game. That's 1/10 of a point over 10 games, and they're a 7-3 team. And you compare it to a team, for example, like Dallas, who they're facing this week, and hope I'm not giving everything away, but Dallas is over plus 8 points per game in differential at the same record. So
yeah, I mean, when you take a look at teams that actually win Super Bowls, not just make playoffs, it's good defenses and good scoring margins. It's not a difficult thing. And Miami does not have a good scoring margin. They don't have a good defense. So
yeah,
I don't think they're going anywhere. Famous last words, right?
Yeah. And then again, you stop and think. They're giving up over 24 points a game, and they're laying a double-digit figure, 13 at that. So if they continue just at their average of allowing 24 points per game, they're going to have to score 38 in that game. Is that out of the realm of possibility? No.
Well, they're also playing the Houston Texans, who are obviously. But Houston, I mean, but anyway, the point is, from a handicapping standpoint, I don't like laying a lot of points with bad to mediocre teams. Just don't do it.
Exactly. In the NFL, when you got 12 or 13 games on the board, laying a double digit, you better really, really like the team if you're laying a double digit favorite, because there's probably better options on the board. Yeah. Not always. There is times where I use double digit favorites and won, and there's times I can kick myself in the ass too. So.
And Miami, they are a decent team. I'm not saying they're a bad team, but I'm not laying 13 points with Miami.
Yes, I hear you. Anyway, there you go, folks. It's some food for thought, and that's what we're going to try to do going forward. Get your brain juices going, and hopefully you learn something along the way. Look, we always want to win these free picks, but we're here to educate too, because a lot of you out there, since the legalization in many states with sports betting, a lot of you out there are either new or novices, and this is how you learn. Okay, that's how we learned at an early age. And we started real early, but everybody's not like us. Everybody's not going to turn out doing it for a living, and God bless you if you do. So in any event, Al, I know you got another show to go.
Thanks, Ross.
I'd like to wish you and your family a very happy Thanksgiving. And as always, my friend, we really appreciate your time on this show, and it's an honor to have you. And we look forward to having you going forward as well. So
join Ross at rbwins.com and my website, bigal.com, and a lot of good stuff at both websites.
Yeah, by the way, pickadvisor.com is one of Al's sites, and I am a member there, a handicapper there, I should say, not only at my site, rbwins.com, but very good record in the NFL since January 30th of last year. I'm around 58%, and based on $1,000 a game, over $9,000 of profit. Same thing in the NBA since April 1st of last year, 48 and 36, which is somewhere around 57%. And if those of you who think that that's not good, well, do the math even at $100 a game. So again, BigL.com, RBWins.com, or PickAdvisor.com in my instance for our premium paid selections. Until the next time, for Big L and Ross, we'd like to wish each and every one of you a very happy Thanksgiving, folks. Take care. Good luck and God bless.